Plaquemine Parish Council, September the 14th, 2023. Meeting is now called to order at 3:50 p.m. We have roll call. Let the record reflect that 8 council members are present. Reverend Evers is absent. We'll move to the next item, please.
2, executive session, there are none. 3, proclamations, there are none. 4, status report by the parish president.
Mr. President.
Are we on? Yep. Today's report's going to be water. Did meet with the governor this morning. Met with the governor, the Corps, and GOSAP. Just to kind of give you a rundown of where we are, I'm just going to go down the list here. The toe of the saltwater wedge is at mile 55, and it moves about 1.5 miles a day. So the toe, it's like a wedge. So that if the toe is at mile 55, then 15 miles further down, so what that would be, what, 40, about 35 is where from mile 35 down is completely salt water. And so that's moving about, like I said, about 1.5 miles a day. The seal is at mile 63.8. The toe at the seal will be there approximately on the 22nd of this month. And then what will happen is that now that as it, what about 10 days later, it'll start spilling over. The seal is at 55 feet right now, negative 55, so there's a 55-foot draft in the river. What the Corps is looking at possibly doing, and I believe they are going to do this, they're going to bring that seal up to a negative 30, but leave a 500-foot opening in the river for a ship channel that does have a 50-foot draft or even up to a 55-foot draft. It's not going to stop that salt water from coming over, but it will mitigate and slow it down, so it's not going to be. The river at that point is about 3,000 feet wide. So what it'll do right there, it'll only allow that the salt to completely come over the river at a 500-foot opening right there. So it'll slow it down a little bit.
Mr. President, are you saying that the salt water is steadily coming north?
Steadily coming north. Steadily coming north. We're looking at to being in the Belle Chase area somewhere around, potentially around October the 3rd. In St. Bernard, it's potentially going to hit them October the 8th. And then if we start doing the math, as you get further up, depending on where New Orleans is, where their intakes are, so somewhere in November, it could potentially hit them. The furthest this salt water has ever, I don't know what year it was, but the furthest it's ever been has been to Kenner in the past right there. So hopefully something will happen, between now and in the fall, to where we start getting some rainfall up north or some snow that could possibly, once it starts snowing, it's not going to be a melt, but at least we'll get some type of watershed from up north. But will it be enough? Really don't know. The Corps is going to embed one of their individuals with us starting on Monday. So we'll have a Corps individual with us on a daily basis starting next week. They've activated their EOC, seeing the problems with what we're experiencing here. The governor, he's asked for federal assistance on this. We've been given the green light. I've talked with President Chang. I've talked with not with Mayor Cantrell, but we've been talking with their directors. So, and I've talked with President McGinnis. So we are moving forward to start off. We're going to move forward with doing that tie-in But like I talked with President McGinnis here not an hour ago. I said, look, he goes, move forward with it. I said, yeah, but a week later, we might have to shut us down. He says, it is what it is. But what the governor has asked us to do is start looking at situations that aren't temporary, but that are permanent fixes in the future. And those are some of the things that we've done throughout this whole process. When we move forward with the booster station right there at Alliance, it's a temporary, but it's a permanent fix for in the future. It's also what we did at the Port Sulphur facility. It's a temporary repair, but it's also, there's a permanent fix right there as well. And so the same thing being said about the water line on the East Bank. It's a temporary, but it's a permanent fix in the future. So we've been given the green light from the governor's office to move on all of these projects right here. So if we don't get any relief, so what we're doing is we're moving forward. We're going to be activating an RO, reverse osmosis, and a filter for the Boothville Venice plant. We're also going to move forward with getting a reverse osmosis and an RO and the MF filter for the Port Sulphur facility. We're living off of about, on the West Bank side of the river, we're living off about 6 million gallons of water a day. So what I've expressed to the governor and to GOSEP is that if we do move forward on those two facilities on the southern end of our parish, that takes a lot of pressure off the Bell Chase area right there. Plus, it takes care of the southern end, and we won't have any problems down there. But right now, we're still waiting, and it probably won't be, what would we say, next week sometime for LDH to give us that final green light. So probably for the next month, we're still going to be able to push. Soon, we're pushing water all the way down to the flagpole of Buras right now. That's coming from the Bell Chase area, the water plant. So as soon as we can get the water plant up in Port Sulphur, then we'll be able to push that water down all the way. But in the interim, that's what we're doing. At the end of the day, if it's more than likely we're going to have to kick in these ROs on the southern end of the parish there.
President.
Yes.
Move up. Explain to the public when you're saying that tie-in.
The tie-in on the East Bank?
Tie-in, I guess, to the next, the tie-ins.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
What is, I believe it's an 8-inch line that we've had an agreement with Jefferson Parish, but where it is right now, for years, we can get water from Jefferson Parish on the north side of the bridge off Engineers Road and Fort St. Leon. So we've been doing that. We've been getting water from the Jefferson Parish throughout this process right here to take pressure off the Bell Chase facility because we're trying to push as much water to the southern end of the parish. But we also have, there's an 8-inch line that goes from Jefferson Parish all the way to our facility, to the Bell Chase plant. Although, I don't know how many years ago, there was an upgrade to the Bell Chase facility, and with that upgrade, they disconnected that tie-in. So we are at the point, we're finding where that tie-in, that break, where that area of pipe is missing. So we're identifying that area, and we're in the process of making that connection again. Now, Jefferson Parish is telling us that they can supply us with 6 million gallons of water a day. They don't have a problem with that. Here's the thing. Jefferson Parish is at mile 100, okay? And we know that's south of Kenner. But so hopefully, we won't get that wedge to make it to mile 100. So with that being said, because if we have to do ROs or any kind of reverse osmosis to the Bell Chase plant, even to kind of like say when we soften the load up for the facilities on the southern end, that's 1 million a day, and Port Sulphur can do about 1.5 million right now. So we'd be looking at 4 million gallons of water. So now we're looking at possibly 8 of these trailers, of these reverse osmosis, which is kind of a serious task. Can it be done? I'm being told yes, it can. But hopefully we can get this water distributed to us from the Jefferson Parish community. Now, on the backside, coming in the Algiers area, we also have an agreement with Orleans Parish. We go back and forth. When just recently, when Orleans had a pile drive, I believe we may have sent some water to the lower coast, to English Turn, the lower coast, around what you would think is Plaquemines Parish. So we've been supplying them water. That's fixed. Now we're reversing that valve right there so that now in the near future, we can at least push water to the industrial park and down Woodland Highway to this facility right here to the primary school. So this area will be getting water from Orleans Parish. So that'll alleviate any kind of pressure that, that'll be put on the Belle Chase plant. So the cord, and like I said, about an hour and a half ago, we got a letter from GOSEP, and everything that we're talking about here, green light letter, we're going to get reimbursed for this, so they're all on board. So it's a lot of moving parts.
It cost $1 million to get Boothville hooked up last time.
Boothville last time, Rennie's telling me that was $1 million right there. So now we're talking $1 million for Boothville. We're going to try to get a little bit larger. We'll probably need 2 trailers for the Port Sulphur facility. So that's probably going to be $2 million right there. Just this event's we're probably looking at $3 to $5 million right here. But again, we've got the letter, the assurance that.
They said they would pick up any costs associated with connecting Jefferson.
Yes, so that the cost for the water, we've got to pay our water bill to Jefferson Parish and Orleans Parish too, so they're going to take care of that expense as well. So,
Conclusion?
that's it.
Mr. Jurich.
Now, just one more thing. We've got a press conference in the morning at the Corps. That's going to be with us, and I believe St. Bernard is going to be coming in because they're the next ones to get impacted on this.
Mr. Jurich?
Yes, Mr. President, few meetings back, we did pass a resolution to send a letter to the Corps requesting for them to fix the breaches on the east bank of the river. And at the CPRA meeting the other day, it was stressed time and time again that the east bank of the Mississippi River is deteriorating rapidly. That's the Corps' responsibility.
Yes.
100%. And when I heard them talk about Neptune Pass, they're not going to close it off. They're just going to put a little sill there. That's unacceptable as well. We have to there's also 2 new breaches in the Bohemia area. We're lucky the river's low right now, because if it was at any level, those breaches would be rapidly turning into more Mardi Gras passes or whatever you want to call them. Yeah. So this is urgent. The Corps needs to fix this. And I don't know what kind of action we have to take to force them. And did you ever send the letter? And, did we ever get that letter to them requesting that?
I don't believe we did. We need to do that.
We need to do that.
Well, we had conversations with them. Well, yesterday, that was yesterday, when the Corps, when they were up there giving their presentation, and they were asked the question, do these crevasses and these openings, does it have an effect on the flow of the river? They were kind of tongue-tied, but they were all nodding their head yes. And then President McGinnis said, well, I'm going to take that with a nod of your head. I'm going to take that as a yes. And this morning, with the governor, he brought up Neptune Pass and Mardi Gras Pass. That was a topic of conversation as well. And Colonel Jones was at the meeting, so we were talking about that as well.
Right. Well, I definitely heard when they mentioned Neptune Pass was at a negative flow, which means a negative flow means salt water is coming into it.
It's pushing in. They wanted to say that they wanted to portray it like it wasn't having an effect, but that negative flow, that's coming this way.
When they mentioned that yesterday, they just pretty much admitted it's probably happening in every one of these crevasses.
Right.
Because, and it's just putting water way further upriver than it needs to come in. So this is vital to the future of Plaquemines Parish, because this could be an event time and time again. And of course, that massive beast they're trying to shove down our throat right now will be no help. Not at all. So
Well, that's
we have
only
to keep
going to,
pressure.
that's only going to multiply this by tenfold, if not more.
Exactly. And I also heard him talk about the RO at East Point Lahash. Is it about
That's-
up and running?
That should be up and running here pretty soon. We've told them to go ahead and get it connected
Okay. That's all. I have.
next couple of days.
Just keep,
Yeah.
this is something that's beyond urgent.
Yeah.
And the Corps does need to step up, and I don't know if there's legal action or whatever that may have to take place just to get them moving, but we gotta hold their feet to the fire on this.
Well, we've been given the green light from GOSEP to procure all of these, so we're not having to sit back and waiting on the Corps or GOSEP to move forward. We've been given that green light to secure everything that we need to take care of our, Plaquemines Parish here.
All right, thank you very much. I yield.
Ms. McCarty.
Mr. Hinckley, you mentioned that GOSEP is going to reimburse us for the remediation measures that we're doing now. That's the things that we know how to do right now. I'd never thought of this before, and I don't know if anyone else has, but would they pay for a research and development grant that would allow us to see, this must happen somewhere else in the world? What are other places in the United States or other countries doing to try and solve this problem? Do we know?
I would think GOSEP is in the emergency preparedness mode.
Reaction.
In the reaction and not the proactive. So, but those are areas that we can explore that in other areas. Say, we did in our conversation with the governor this morning. He was asking, are there things that we can do to mitigate this in the future? And I said, I gave him our whole litany of the dual feed line up and down the parish, what we're doing with St. Bernard Parish, the water lines. I mean, you guys heard me talk this over and over, the plant in Naomi, the boosters going towards the southern end of the parish. So he got to hear that spill this morning. And now we even carried it a little bit further. Let's say if we're talking about a 20-inch line, from the beginning of the parish to the end of the parish, we almost need to consider having some type of a source line that goes even further through Jefferson Parish, so that we almost know that these situations, if we don't do anything in the future, this is going to be an ongoing problem here. So
Exactly, and other countries must have a solution as well.
yeah.
You know.
I'm sure they do. Here's what makes it tough on us and being on the Mississippi River and the reverse osmosis machine. Those are designed to be out in the Gulf of Mexico, in the Atlantic or the Pacific Ocean. This is why we have to have that MF filtering system up front to clean the river water out before it can even go through the reverse osmosis there. So.
Mr. Konovich.
The main thing to stop it in the future or to slow it down is to close all them breaks. But when you put the osmosis machine in Venice, are you going to dredge out the intake?
That should be happening on Friday.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Mr. Champagne.
Yeah, President Hinckley, you talked about a regional approach to solving the water problem. Have you considered getting with the local parish presidents to put together, form as a coalition or a group to address this issue and bring this up to the Corps? Because I really don't have a lot of confidence in them and their response. I mean, they have a responsibility to maintain the river, and I think that is their mission, is to maintain it, but they're failing at that miserably. As Commissioner Jurisic mentioned, there's multiple breaks through the river that are slowing down the velocity, and the velocity is paramount in carrying the sediment load downriver. So not only is there lack of maintenance on the river affecting our ability to make potable drinking water, it's also making the Corps have to dredge it more frequently. So there's multiple failures here: a failure to produce water, a failure to keep maintain the depth. I would think that getting together with Plaquemines Parish, Jefferson Parish, St. Bernard Parish, and Orleans Parish would be much more impactful than us trying to take this alone. So I would encourage you to try to team up with your colleagues and go directly to the core, above the core. Again, I yield.
Mr. Schultz. You want to ask Dr. Good?
No way.
Is there any comments from the audience? Mr. Konovich?
Got one other thing, if you could put it in. Every time I call Billy, he sends the mosquito truck, but I don't know if it's not working. I got a video, if you could see it. Looks like you're getting ate up by bees, but it's mosquitoes. And Tidewater Road, McDermott, and all that, you can't walk outside.
He's got it on drive.
Joys of living in South Louisiana, right?
Well, I cut grass in 3 places: Venice, the fort, and my house, Empire, Florida. Fort, Buras, and Empire might have 1 or 2 mosquitoes. Venice, thousands.
Mr. Schultz?
Yeah, back to the water. Are we going to be sending that letter to the Corps? Because, I mean, right now we're under a state of emergency, and it's to our advantage to send it, put as much pressure on the Corps to get, I mean, if we don't do it now, it's going to be an ongoing issue every year until we can find, I know we're taking steps to solve it here, but this overall saltwater intrusion is going to be an issue for years to come unless if we put pressure. I like what Mr. Champagne said. You get with our counterparts, and we all need to send it because we're under a state emergency, but I'm sure St. Bernard is going to be under one too soon, possibly Jefferson. Let's use that to our advantage and send that letter and get them to address the issue. So I just hope that we do that pretty soon. And I know we're taking steps, but next year, if this happens again, we might not get the green light from GOSEP. So we need to use the state emergency, unfortunately, to our advantage.
I totally agree with you. And look, President McGinnis, I mean, he gave us a litany of how short time he is, but I'm sure we can, there's going to be like John Lane and their coastal zone guy. They're going to be around. He's going to be with us tomorrow morning, I believe. So I will be able to reach out to him and also with President McGinnis to initiate this right here. And I'm sure President Chang, she'll be all on board with this as well. But I would think, and look, and my relationship with the other parish presidents up the river, they will stand behind us as well. And I will get that letter to the Corps because it's being the attention of the river flow and the flow of the river and the amount of the river, like Neptune Pass, for example, it's pulling out 19% of the river's flow through Neptune Pass. And when you take a look from 4 years ago, when you look at the width of Neptune Pass, it's a small slither. And then when you look at it today, it is literally about a quarter of how wide Neptune Pass is. It's about a quarter of the width of the river. So that's definitely that 20% of the width. And the way we were looking yesterday, we were just kind of doing math on some of the other breaks like Mardi Gras Pass, with the amount of water that's flowing through there. That turns out to be like another 5%. And then probably Fort St. Phillips, that's probably another 5%. And if we're saying that there's a few more openings out there, so, that's 20, that's 30. We could be up to almost 50% of the river's flow that's being dispersed.
Please key in.
Where Neptune is.
Please make all of them live.
You were. Don't hit him after they
Okay.
I've hunted there for 50 years. Neptune was no canal. The cows walking across it eventually wore it down and it started breaking. I'd like to measure it, the depth, the length, and because they keep saying it's building land out there, it's just moving land from where it was to where it is now.
You know, and you want to, they keep pounding on us, these passes. These aren't natural passes. Mardi Gras Pass was man-made, and I know the individual that worked on that pass right there, and he wants to close it down really bad. Mr. Carroll Martin, I'm going to say his name right here. He wants it shut down, and he'll tell you they created it for the oyster industry, if I'm not mistaken, to be able to control the salinity of the water. Neptune Pass, it's my understanding that, you obviously know this, how it was made, because there were some vessels that were just kind of just going through there, or...
Oh, even the jump, Baptiste Collette and Cubis Gap was all dug by somebody.
Right.
People broke them open.
Yeah, so...
You know, I wanted to stress the importance of something in that letter. When you heard the landowners that came here to ask for that letter to
Yeah.
be written, the pipelines in Neptune Pass.
Yeah.
That is a time bomb.
Mm-hmm.
They are suspended 40 feet off the bottom.
Right.
These are major pipelines,
4-inch pipeline.
24-inch lines.
Okay.
These lines break, and now that water's coming in the river. Could be very bad.
Well, we'll get that done next week right there. I don't know how that fell through the cracks, but we're good.
Any more comments from the table? President Hinckley, I would like to get an update on the permitting process that I sent you and Ms. Shanta an email. I don't want it today, but could you send it to me tomorrow?
We talking about, is it Mr. Landry's?
For the Point LaHash, right?
Yeah, okay. I will get something to you.
Okay, great.
Okay.
We'll move to the next item, please.
Update by charter directors.
We have what?
Video.
Make sure you unmute it, unmute the volume.
Wait, you see him?
Look like my...
That ain't love bugs. I wouldn't swat at love bugs.
Next item, please.
Update by charter directors.
Good evening. The year is quickly passing by. HR is working on 2024 quotes for insurance renewals. They're waiting for those quotes to come in. It's budget time. Finance has sent out the budget worksheets to all departments. Those budget worksheets are due back to Finance September 22nd. I know we have a lot of new people dealing with budgets. If you have any questions or any concerns, please reach out to the Finance Department, and they'll assist you in any way they can. This morning, we had food distribution done in the back by the pavilion in reference to Hunger Action Month this month in September, in conjunction with Winn-Dixie and Second Harvest, who reached out to my office. And through their sponsorship, we were able to feed 500 families here in Plaquemines today. We have, under suspension of rules, we've met and discussed with you all civil service, the increases for the workforce and administration, asking for your support. Councilman LaFrance, when we get into the agenda, I would ask that we go to that item since we have the finance manager and the assistant finance manager here in the audience.
Let y'all wait for that, Rick.
Just asking. And I think that's it. Yes. Thank you.
Hey, good afternoon, everyone. Just a couple of updates. And again, most of us talk all the time on a regular basis. East Bank Interceptor Canals, probably several miles of canal that the flood department has completely cleared of every stick and stem and big tree. It looks amazing. It's going to hugely increase the drainage on the south end of, or the north end of White Ditch area. Grand Bayou Road was graded last week. Happy Jack was graded last week. We're going to have the grader at the marinas on the south end next week. Some of those haven't been graded in a long time. We're going to bring material as needed to those. The parks, Mr. LaFrance, we kind of spoke a little bit about Ironton and Diamond. I did meet with the contractor in Diamond. He should have some numbers on a renovation of that restroom/concession stand by end of day tomorrow. We'll probably likely get a couple of other ones just to make sure we're compliant, even though it's well below the threshold.
Before you move, I have some residents in Ironton. Could you give them an update, what we talked about the park in Ironton?
Yeah, so the park in Ironton is it's all part of the IDA recovery money. Most of that's going to be funded by FEMA now, where Venture Global was going to do something, but because it was FEMA money coming in, they kind of decided it's kind of best for both parties to let FEMA pay for some of that. So that's in the works. The issue with the restroom and the concession stand area there is an elevation question that we're waiting to get clarification on. Does it need to be elevated 15 feet? Is there a certain size that determines that? You know, if it's a 10 by 10 versus a 50 by 50, we're waiting on those answers. And once we have those answers, we know what to develop and design and put out the bid. But the fencing, all of that normal stuff is going to move forward and should be moving forward within the next several weeks. The only other thing would be mosquito control. Mosquito control is definitely spraying more now than they ever have in the past. The Boothville Elementary School south to Venice is fighting. It comes in for a week or so and it goes away. It's those saltwater marsh grass mosquitoes. It's a totally different breed of mosquito. That's why you see them in broad daylight. It doesn't matter day or night or in between or what you're doing, they're coming at you. The chemical they spray does kill them. If you notice a couple weeks ago, if you follow Facebook, we got complaints. Some residents thought we were only doing commercial businesses in Venice because we were in the middle of the day. They thought we was being sneaky. They're spraying way more than any other parish. Places like Orleans Parish out in the east, Wrigley's area, all of that stuff, they don't even spray for stuff like that. St. Tammany Parish, all these other parishes, when you call for extra stuff like that, it's a huge fee for them to come out and do it, if they even spray at all. Believe me, it's not the mosquito control department. It's just we live in South Louisiana and we're going to have mosquitoes. Trust me, if they did stop spraying or slacked up, you would know. It does happen today. We get a little bit spoiled, and when they stop biting us, as soon as one bites us, we go in panic mode. But for sure, the mosquito control department is spraying more than they have ever sprayed before, and the product they're using is better than it's ever been. It's definitely working. But there are going to be issues where we get some mosquitoes every once in a while. And that's really all I had, unless you have a question about something.
Good evening, everyone. Ms. McCarty, Beta Street has been repaired as of earlier this afternoon.
Thank you very much.
There was a main break on Beta yesterday. They were waiting on a particular coupling. That has been repaired. So far through September, there have been 10 main water breaks so far this month. That's quite a bit lower than last month. Maybe we're just running out. I don't know. The generators on the administrative order report, we've hired a consultant to do the sizing on those generators. On the administrative order, it was 5 generators that was noted. We added one on the East Bank. The consultant is in the process of starting to assess what's needed, and we'll present that report and whatever we need to move forward with that. I met with a consultant. Myself and engineering met with a consultant down at the Port Suffolk Government Building to assess what we need to do some major repairs, cosmetic, to stop some water infiltration in that building. Unless y'all have any questions, that's all I have.
Any comment from the audience? From the table? Ms. McCarty?
Excuse me. I have a question regarding the food bank. For those people who did not know about it, I was wondering, how was it advertised? Who is eligible? And are there any future dates planned?
Ms. McCarty, that particular food distribution, they reached out to us. It was in observance of Hunger Action Month. So when Dixie and Second Harvest got together and reached out to us about it, we advertised on all of our social medias, on the parish's website. It was shared on Facebook by many of the Facebook users. It was out there. So, and there was no qualifying factors. It was open to everyone parish-wide.
And is there a future one?
That's one that they do once a year, that particular one once a month, a Hunger Action Month, through that Winn-Dixie group.
Thank you very much.
That Second Harvest may be planning something in the future, but that one now.
Thank you.
Mr. Newsom?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Wishes, I know we talked about cleaning of a canal, and you and President Hinckley, myself and Mitch all know what Ollie Canal looks like. Do we have any, I know we had talked about, or you had spoke about renting a machine to kind of help reach, because I know we had got some prices, but they were way out of bounds for us to, so just an update on it, what we're going with.
Every option we've explored was extremely expensive. And the second option was even worse than the first because it was expensive and we still needed our own manpower to man it. We are working on the Ravina roadside ditch, and we do some of that outfall canal next. We'll pull that long reach machine from there and bring it to Ollie. It's going to take a whole lot longer than the sub would have done, but we're going to start at the pump station and go south.
Thank you.
Any more comments from the table? Then we'll move to the next item, please.
5, bids and advertisements. 5A, a resolution authorizing the acceptance of bids for furnishing one or more commercial pumpers for a period of 1 year for use parish-wide. Councilmember LaFrance.
So offered.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Konovich. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Administration? Machines are open. And the measure passes unanimously, 8-0.
6, beer and liquor licenses.
Please key in if you have any. Mr. Champagne.
Yes, I have a liquor license for the Croatian American Society, 220 Croatian Way, Belchase, Louisiana, 70037, and a corresponding special event permit for the same organization. I yield.
Okay, I have one. It's for Family Dollar Store of Louisiana, LLC, 28534 Highway 23 in Port Sulphur. I also have a special event permit for Mark Bergeron, 104 Pleasant Ridge Drive, Belchase, Louisiana, and it's for October the 28th, 2023, at 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. With those items, I so offered.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Konovich. Machines are open. And the measure passes unanimously, 8-0. We'll move to the next item, please.
7, building permits. 7A, construction permits. 7A1, Crescent Midstream LLC, application number 2023-386, application date 6/5/23. Proposal to conduct 5 anomaly repairs along the existing 12-inch Empire East to Empire West pipeline. Approximately 360 cubic yards of materials will be excavated, stockpiled, and used as backfill upon successful completion of the project. Section 51T20S R29E, approximately 2.5 miles from Empire, LA. Councilmember Jurisic.
So offer.
We have a motion by Mr. Jurich,
Second.
seconded by Ms. McCarthy. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Administration? Machines are open. And the measure passes 7-4, one abstention by Mr. Konovich. We'll take item B, C, and D in global.
Rodney Height, final approval for 5 additional spaces, Cruisers RV Park, 100 Logan Lane, Belchase, Louisiana. Councilmember LaFrance. First Equity Incorporated, conditional approval for 60-space temporary RV park, Port Sulphur. Councilmember LaFrance. Ken and Zen RV Park LLC, conditional approval for 21 additional spaces, temporary RV park totaling 25 spaces, Port Sulphur. Councilmember LaFrance.
So offered. Any comment from the audience? From the table? Administration? Machines are open. And the measure passes unanimously 8-0. We'll take item E.
John Phillips, Kelly Frederick, conditional approval, new 20-space temporary RV park, 26042 Highway 23, Port Sulphur, Louisiana. Councilmember LaFrance.
I so offered.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Konovich. The conditional approval of this, I think he was 20 feet out of reach of the fire hydrant, but the drawings that they have going to include the new fire hydrant. I so offered and seconded. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Administration? Machines are open. And the measure passes unanimously 8-0.
F, Adventure Campground LLC, Sarah Gunther, conditional approval, 2229476 Highway 11, Home Place, Louisiana. Councilmember LaFrance.
I so offered.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Konovich. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Administration? Machines are open. And the measure passes unanimously 8-0.
G, Belchase Middle School Dance Team, Celeste Taylor, application for gaming permit for $100 gift card raffle to be held September 18th, 2023 through October 2nd, 2023. Councilmember Jurisic.
So offer.
We have a motion by Mr. Jurich, seconded by Ms. McCarty. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Administration? Machines are open. And the measure passes unanimously 8-0.
8, introduction of ordinances and resolutions.
The following pieces of legislation are introduced by Councilmember LaFrance. A resolution authorizing and directing the Parish President, W. Keith Hinckley, through the Finance Department to establish a special account in the Louisiana Asset Management Pool entitled Series 2023 Hurricane Recovery Notes Proceeds Fund, authorizing and directing the Parish President, W. Keith Hinckley, through the Finance Department to establish a special account in the Louisiana Asset Management Pool entitled Series 2023 Hurricane Recovery Note Sinking Fund, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2023 operating expenditure budget, various funds, various departments, various line items for changes in the personal services cost and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2023 Public Health Fund, revenue and operating expenditure budgets, ambulance department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution establishing the dates, times, and places of public hearings on the proposed 2024 operating budget and on the proposed capital improvement budget covering a period of at least 5 years, as submitted by the parish president, to authorize the council secretary to place the necessary public notice in the Plaquemines Gazette pursuant to Section 7.02A and Section 7.05C of the Charter for Local Self-Government, Plaquemines Parish, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. A resolution to provide employees and group insurance coverages consisting of medical, vision, dental, and life for the policy period of January 1st, 2024 through December 31st, 2024 on an employee-employer contributory basis of 72%/28% and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The next two are for Councilman Akanovich, an ordinance authorizing the parish president to do all things necessary and proper to negotiate and settle the Louisiana Fruit Company versus Plaquemines Parish Government, authorizing the parish president to sign any written instrument accepting Coast Guard Road as a public road, provided conditions are met, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to provide for the geographic merger of precincts in Plaquemines Parish and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The next one is for Councilmember Jurisic, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, playground equipment, Jesuit Bend Park project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The next one is for Councilmember Newsom, an ordinance approving the plan of re-subdivision of Lot M-1, Jesuit Bend, Section 10, Township 15 South, Range 24 East, Southeastern District of Louisiana, west of the Mississippi River, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, into lots M1A and M1B, Jesuit Bend, Section 10, Township 15 South, Range 24 East, Southeastern District of Louisiana, west of the Mississippi River, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as shown on the plan and plat of survey by Dufresne Surveying and Engineering, Inc., dated June 15, 2023. The owner having fulfilled all the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the parish of Plaquemines without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the parish of Plaquemines and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The next two are for Councilmember Schultz, an ordinance to amend the 2023 operating expenditure budget, various funds, various departments, various line items, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance to amend the 2023 general fund operating expenditure budget, Homeland Security / Emergency Preparedness Department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The next three are for Councilmember Champagne, an ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of Lot 8A, Belchase Plantation, Section B, Belchase, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, into lots 8B, 8D, 8E, 8F, and 9E, and a dedication of a 10-foot water servitude and a 25-foot servitudes for ingress and egress and utilities, Belchase Plantation, Section B, Belchase, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as shown on the plan and plat of survey by Dufresne Surveying, Inc., dated February 11, 2021, and revised July 13, 2023, the owner having fulfilled all of the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the parish of Plaquemines without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the parish of Plaquemines and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of Lot B of Belchase Plantation, Section B, Belchase, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, into lots 9F and 9G, and a dedication of a 10-foot water servitude, and a 25-foot servitudes for ingress and egress and utilities, Belchase Plantation, Section B, Belchase, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as shown on the plan and plat of survey by Dufresne Surveying, Inc., dated March 24, 2022, and revised July 13, 2023, the owner having fulfilled all of the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the parish of Plaquemines without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the parish of Plaquemines and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of the property of Casey Alamonte, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as shown on the map of re-subdivision, lots 191 and 192 into 191A, the Parks of Plaquemines, Phase 3D, certified by Clint Semino, dated March 22nd, 2023, the owner having fulfilled all of the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the Parish of Plaquemines without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the Parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And there's one additional one for Councilmember Champagne, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan, parish-wide pressure model project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. The following two are for Councilmember Edwards. An ordinance approving a plan of re-subdivision of Pedro Alclade and Bradley Gremion, map of re-subdivision of Scarsdale Plantation, lots 2-C-1 and 2-B-2 into lots 2C-1A and 2B-2A, Braithwaite, Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as shown on the plan and plat of survey by Eugens Lawrence, KLS Group, Inc., dated May 30th, 2023, the owner having fulfilled all of the requirements of the subdivision and re-subdivision ordinance of the Parish of Plaquemines without cost to the Plaquemines Parish government or the Parish of Plaquemines, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. And the final one for Councilmember Edwards is the ordinance to amend and as amended readopt Section 17.5-2 of Chapter 17.5, Article 1, Parks, Recreation, and Parish Facilities of the Code of Ordinances relative to the manner of event setup and the charge of setup fees, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto.
Thank you. I would like to move to 9E, please. 9E.
A resolution approving the requested variance filed by St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church to vary the minimum required front yard setback of 20 feet to 9 feet in a FP zoning district and to waiver the required 24 off-street parking spaces required for a church or temple on a portion of ground designated as Square 3 of the Village of Ironton, 133 Bradish Street, Ironton, Louisiana, Plaquemines Parish, Section 7. Township 16 South, Range 25 East, all in accordance with application number 2023-531 dated June 15, 2023, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
I so offer.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Konovich. Any comments from the audience? Reverend Johnson, you would like to speak? Mr. Yates?
I'm Ames Yates, Yates Mansell Architects.
Please come to the mic.
Okay, I'm sorry.
State your name, your address.
Sorry, I'm Ames Yates, Yates Mansell Architects, 929 South Peters, New Orleans, Louisiana. Our office is assisting the St. Paul Missionary Baptist Church in rebuilding this their historic church that was damaged by Hurricane Ida. It's the church needs to be elevated to meet base flood elevation, so it's a very tight lot, and so we went to the Board of Zoning, the zoning board, and requested a waiver for the front yard, a setback on the front yard to waive, I think, 9 feet of that, and then to also waive the parking, which they normally park in the street, and there's no place for them to park. It was approved by the zoning board, and we respectfully request the council to also approve this, considering the fact that they have such a hardship down there trying to get this church rebuilt.
Thank you.
Any other questions? Okay.
My name is Pastor Hayward Johnson, pastor of St. Paul Baptist Church. I just want to thank the council because the people in Ironton have been through a lot. This is the third time that the church has been flooded, and we want to rebuild, and maybe an elevator to rebuild. And I want to thank everybody for helped us along the way to make this possible, because the church is the lifeline of the community. And we are looking forward to moving back in the community, but also we're looking forward to rebuilding the church. And so it's important. It's important. It's an important part of the community.
Thank you, Reverend Johnson. Any more comments from the audience? From the table? Administration? Machines open? And the measure passes unanimously, 8-0. No, let's move to Ms. Taylor item. (11A1).
New business, introduction of resolutions wherein suspension is being sought. A resolution requesting the Civil Service Commission to adopt a rule to allow for a special one-time merit increase and to allow for a special one-time pay plan adjustment and implementation plan, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
Offer for suspension.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Konovich. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Administration? Machines are open. And the measure passes unanimously.
A resolution requesting the Civil Service Commission to adopt a rule to allow for a special one-time merit increase and to allow for a special one-time pay plan adjustment and implementation plan, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
So offered.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Konovich. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Okay.
Hey, I just want to, off the end of the bell chase, I just want to say, give them the raise. They need it. Thank you.
Mr. Schultz?
Yes, I just want to be clear, since seems like there's some confusion, that this is just for the civil service employees to send it to the Civil Service Commission for them to vote on, because I know there's been confusion on who's getting raises, but this particular resolution is for civil service only. Correct? I want to verify that this is just for civil service employees.
Yes.
Okay.
Any more comments?
Wait. Yes, sir.
Public, I thought this was a raise that was going to be did for the people, not something to the civil service.
Well, civil service is all the majority of our employees.
I'm thinking all that was already. I'm thinking that was already settled, and this raise was going to come due when this was voted on. That's the thing I got out of this. Understand what I'm saying? Now you got a whole nother deal here.
Mr. Henry, before we implement the raise, we need to go to the Civil Service Board for approval of what we're attempting to do. So that's all this is doing, is giving us permission to go to the Civil Service Board.
But you didn't make that in your presentation just a while ago. Yeah. You didn't say it was going to the Civil Service Commission.
Okay, I didn't say it was going to the Civil Service Commission, but we have to go to the Civil Service Commission
first, and then we will vote on it.
Don't want you to confuse the people, that's all.
Yeah, that's why I want to clarify that this will go to the Civil Service Board, and then we're voting on the raise in 2 weeks at that time. That's why I just want to make sure that everybody knows that this isn't all of a sudden pass and everybody gets a raise tomorrow.
Any more comments from the table? Administration? Machines are open.
Try to be clear.
And the measure passes unanimously, 8-0. We'll move to item 2 while we're on suspension.
A resolution authorizing the parish president to extend the state of emergency for the saltwater wedge intrusion an additional 90-day period, if necessary, or until such time as the Plaquemines Council terminates the state of emergency, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
Offer for suspension.
Second.
Seconded by Ms. McCarty. Any comments from the audience? Table, administration, machines open. And the measure passes unanimously, 8-0.
A resolution authorizing the parish president to extend the state of emergency for the saltwater wedge intrusion an additional 90-day period if necessary, or until such time as the Plaquemines Council terminates the state of emergency, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
I so offered.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Konovich. Any comments from the audience?
Clarence Brooks, 156 Crossover Land, Phoenix, Louisiana. The question I got is, I know it's a state emergency. Is that emergency call for the water to be borrowed, or just continue on doing everything normal, or there going to be a supply of bottled water or anything through the emergency?
Go ahead.
So
Everything
the
will
state
stay normal?
emergency is through the state for like the reverse osmosis, the water that we're getting, the water that we're going to be borrowing from Jefferson Parish, where we can get all that reimbursed. It's with the state emergency, we have to extend it. It's already been in effect, but we're extending it another 9 days because of all that, and basically allows us to get reimbursement and stuff like that.
It's
financial reimbursement.
It's a financial thing. It allows us to move at a faster pace. And one of the comments that I wanted to assure the council is that although we're able to move at a faster pace, we are still procuring all of the equipment, anything that we do, any project that we move forward on, we are still going through a bid process on it right here. But it eliminates a certain time frames and advertising and things like that. It just allows us to move at a faster pace.
Another question is, if there is any change, like since it's a sense of emergency, will y'all let us know that we need to cut down on washing cars and watering the grass, just to make things better for people?
We've been doing that already.
Oh, you did?
Yeah.
Nobody told me. All right. I just want to make sure that the people be prepared for an emergency. All right.
Any other comments from the audience? From the table? Administration, machines are open.
Suspension for 3.
Oh, this is the vote.
No, this is the vote. We already suspended.
It's the vote on the state emergency.
Yeah, okay.
Pay attention.
And the measure passes unanimously, 8-0. We'll move to the next item.
A resolution authorizing and directing the parish president to enter into a contract with Louisiana Government Strategies LLC to provide precinct merger services and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Kotnovich.
Offer.
We have a motion by Mr. Konovich. Do I have a second? Seconded by Dr. Gouy. Mr. Konovich.
Vote on the suspension.
Yeah. Machines open on the suspension. And the measure passes unanimously, 8-0.
A resolution authorizing and directing the parish president to enter into a contract with Louisiana Government Strategies LLC to provide precinct merger services and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Kotnovich.
Offer.
We have a motion by Mr. Konovich. Do I have a second? Seconded by Dr. Gouy.
And let Mr. Garrett explain.
We'll yield the floor to.
It's sort of a post-redistricting. When we had to create precincts for the redistricting, a number of them we were able to merge at the time, but there were a number of others that we were not allowed to merge at that time because they conflicted with the legislative races. So now that the legislative races have had their qualifying and are moving on to election, you now have the ability to merge some of the small precincts with a larger precinct adjacent to it. And you got a packet from the registrar of voters indicating that if you don't merge those small precincts with the big ones, then you could end up having to pay additional election costs for the operation of those small precincts. And the registrar of voters has a list that they're recommending, and we'll put together. We'll do all the mapping and all the submittals to the Secretary of State, working with the registrar of voters.
Thank you.
Any comments from the audience?
Can registrar voters come also talk?
If she want to.
Would the Director of Register of Voters, Ms. Rhodes, please come also explain this?
Please state your name and your address, please.
Good afternoon. I'm Deborah Rhodes, Plaquemines Registrar of Voters. Okay, we've been going over all this, and the state gave us the wards and precincts that were under 300.
Please speak into the mic.
I didn't realize that. Okay, it starts off at 1-1, and that is going to be exempt. It has 285 voters, but that's going to be exempt. 6-1A also is going to be exempt. That's the Navy base. So that's with District 1. Okay, we have 6-1B, that's 85 voters. So we're going to put them with 8-1. We're going to merge them. 7-1, we have 216 voters, and we're going to, let's see, wait, that's Arlington, so they're going to be exempt. 8-1A has 94 voters, and we're going to merge them with 8-1. And 8-2A has 27 voters, which we're going to merge them with 8-2. 8-3 has 223 voters, and we're going to merge that with 9-1. So if you want to know the totals, I'm going over this time and time again. Let's see. 8-1 will have 990 voters now. It was going to be 811, but it's going to be 990 with the additional merges. 8-2 is 410, but it's going to go to 437. And 9-1 has 578, but it's going to go to 801 with the merges. So it's very important that we have worked on this because we have a deadline. So any questions?
Mr. Schultz?
So my question is, are you able to submit these changes yourself or not?
I can give them to you, and y'all have to sign what I have given you, and we can give them to the state.
Okay, so there's really no reason to enter into this contract with a Louisiana government strategies when we already know what we're going to do. I mean, I know that's not your position to yes or no, but that's my opinion is we can do this ourselves since we already know what we want to do. And to me, I don't feel comfortable spending more money on this since we knew that when these maps were submitted that there were going to be changes to them, and now we're going to have to pay more money to correct the changes a year later. So I'm not in favor of this just because of that reason right there. We knew, I mean, that contract was signed last year, and now we're paying again to correct errors that were in those maps. So I yield.
Okay, I don't know if it was errors, it was just, yeah.
Mr. Champagne?
Yeah, to echo a bit what Councilman Schultz said, it seemed, by Mr. Garrett's own admission, we knew that we were going to have to make some changes after the legislative races, so those changes must have already been identified, what they were going to be. So it seems like we already paid for this work. Why would we do it again? If we recognize that we're going to have to do the changes, I think we got them. I think we have a register of voters who is fully capable of making some changes, and in all fairness, she briefed a couple of us on these changes, and it seems pretty simple. So again, I don't want
Right, and we're going to go over them, and what we submit, well, y'all have to look at it and sign your papers. We're going to submit it to the state, and if there are mistakes or corrections that we made, they will tell us.
Perfect, thank you. I yield.
Ms. McCarty?
Ms. Rhodes, just quickly, you do feel confident that you can handle this, correct?
Yes, I've gone over this over and over again.
That's good enough.
And I've had councilmen go over with me. I've had Kim, which I have a lot of faith in. She's gone over that with me, and we've spent many hours.
Well, I thank you both.
Okay.
Didn't you tell me we had to do this? That you
Yeah, we have to.
No, you sent the thing to Danny saying he needed to do it. That's why I introduced it for suspension today.
Well, my job was to look over this, suggest to you, but when it comes down to it, y'all have to sign this.
But you said you sent an email to Danny.
I sent an email to Danny to find out what was going on, and that's when he said he sent a contract to Mr. Hinckley Mr. Burris and Carlton, and I never heard anything. So, I mean, we don't want to pay extra money to be penalized.
I thought it had to be done because that's what you told me.
It has to be done, but I don't know if it has to go through. That's up to y'all.
Danny sent a contract and that's why I introduced it.
Right, no one did. I didn't know about the contract till I contacted Danny. And that's when I contacted him and asked him. I didn't see no contract.
Donovich, you wish to withdraw?
Yeah, if we don't.
This item will be withdrawn. All right.
Mr. Chair.
I'll talk to Kim. Yes.
I was just going to ask the question, I mean, should we have an introduction of sorts to be able to move forward?
There was one.
There was one?
Template.
Okay, all right, good deal.
Yeah, there was a template, just a placeholder that was introduced today. We did verify that.
We'll move to item 9, please.
Ordinances and public hearings pursuant to Article 6, Section 601E of the Plaquemines Parish Charter. 9A1 will be deferred. 9A2, an ordinance to amend and amended to readopt Section 4 of Ordinance Number 142, the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended, and the Comprehensive Zoning District Map therein adopted by reference, and which is paragraph thereto with reference to application number 2023.
Item 2 and item 3 going to be deferred because we don't know exactly what's going to happen when all this construction is over with. And we do have a moratorium, and we waiting on to get the rules and regulations when it's going to pertain to the moratorium. Mr. Jurich?
On the moratorium.
Yeah.
I was looking at
On item 2 and 3. And what I was stating that we don't know if we're going to need any permanent, any permanent RV parks until we finish, to see how the rules and regulations we come up with the moratorium.
We were looking to do more of a temporary type thing instead of permanent.
Right.
The talks are coming around, and, that way, when it's over, it's over. It's not.
Right, because we don't want to be stuck with a whole pile of trailer parks in our district.
Right.
So item 2 and item 3 will be deferred.
9A4, an ordinance to amend and amended to readopt Section 4 of Ordinance Number 142, the Comprehensive Zoning Ordinance of Plaquemines Parish, Louisiana, as amended, and the Comprehensive Zoning District Map therein adopted by reference, and which is paragraph thereto with reference to application number 2023-534, dated June 29, 2023, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember McCarty.
So offered.
We have a motion by Ms. McCarty.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Champagne. I got blank there. Yeah. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Administration? Machines are open. And the measure passes unanimously, 8-0.
B, an ordinance to amend the 2023 general fund balance designations and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance, and this has a fill in the blank.
Please fill in the blank.
On line 12, the amount of $2,064,119 has been inserted.
Say that number again?
$2,064,119.
Any comments from the audience? From the table? Administration? Machines open. And the measure passes unanimously, 8-0. Next item, please.
A resolution urging and directing the negotiation of a cooperative endeavor agreement between Plaquemines Parish Government and Tulane University to facilitate the development of property owned by Tulane University and Plaquemines Parish, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilman McCarty.
So offered.
We have a motion by Ms. McCarty,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Jurich. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Ms. McCarter, the last time you had this up, we discussed about the graveyard. Could you elaborate on that?
Certainly. I did some research and I found out that there is a graveyard. However, it's on the adjacent property owned by the Coast Guard.
Ms. McCarty, I really think we need to spend a little bit to a lot more time offline on this right here, if we could, okay?
Can I ask why?
Well, I don't think this is the time and place to discuss this right here. I need to know more about, I know we've talked about this, but it has just been very brief in our weekly meetings, but we need to have a meeting just paying attention to this and what your intentions are and what you want to do. And I think we need to bring Mr. Champagne into these meetings as well.
I've had a discussion with.
Okay,
Mr. Champagne.
I'm asking, here's the thing. I'm not in support of this at this very moment right now, but if you give me time, then, we can kind of garner some support for it.
Interesting. Okay.
So you would like to defer?
I'd prefer not, but I will because Mr. Hinckley has asked.
This item will be deferred.
Item D, an ordinance to amend and as amended readopt ordinance number 2317 adopted by the Parish Council on January 26, 2023, relative to the prohibition of any Plaquemines Parish issued permit for authorization, construction, and/or operation of any Mississippi River sediment diversion project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Jurich, this has changes.
On lines 11 and 34, the number 2,000 CFS has been inserted in both places, and also on line 44, 2,000 CFFs. There's a new section 3 with the language the following language has been added. Plaquemines Parish Government shall be the sole operator of any such structures. And that is it.
I ask for unanimous second.
Do we have a unanimous second? We agree.
No objection.
We have a motion by Mr. Jurich, and we have a unanimous second. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Administration? Machines are open. And the measure passes unanimously, 8-0.
Item F, an ordinance to grant temporary easement to Coastal Protection and Restoration Authority for the Grand Bayou Ridge and Marsh Creation Project, BA 0217, on Buras Levy District lands and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
I so offered.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Konovich. I'll yield to Mr. Helmer.
This is another phase of the Grand Bayou area where they currently are constructing the Grand Chenier Ridge. This is the same use of the same right-of-way, but for the next project, that'll yield us about 250 acres in the Grand Bayou area. So when that one project's done, they'll just roll right into the second one. This is just extending or giving them the permit to use the right-of-way to pump the silt and the sand from the river across into the marsh.
Mr. Newsom?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is building land this is building land right there?
Yes, this is building back of Grand Bayou.
I'll just comment, and I know you're this is all done by dredging, correct?
This is all dredge. This is a 100% dredge project.
And when we say Grand Bayou, what part of Grand Bayou?
It's on the northern end, just outside of Jefferson Lake, that Bradish Johnson land.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so we talked, that's why we have that pipe.
Yes, sir.
Okay, all right. Okay, good. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Administration? Machines are open. And the measure passes unanimously, 8-0.
G, an ordinance to amend the 5-year capital improvements plan improvements design of Woodland Highway Roundabout Drainage Project, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Champagne.
I offer.
We have a motion by Mr. Champagne,
Second.
seconded by Mr. Schultz. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Ms. McCarty?
I was contacted by a few people who had questions, and I just want to raise those questions. I know that I spoke with Mr. Champagne offline about this, but for the sake of those people who contacted me, I'm going to go through this. Was the roundabout designed before the bridge tolls and the construction agreement came about? Is one of the questions that I received.
Yeah.
It was. Okay. So they're concerned about the increased traffic and have asked me, would it be more efficient to have a traffic light there currently, add one now, and then perhaps later add turning lanes, or later do the roundabout? Because the traffic will be increasing along Woodland Highway, and it's going to be constructed in 2025, true, after the bridge has been completed, but this will force more people to go over the bridge and pay the tolls that might have otherwise wanted to take the roundabout. So the red light, to put one there right now, would not cost anything, and the police can control the traffic, and traffic right now is hard for us to get out onto Woodland Highway. With the uncertainty of the future of the traffic, I would prefer to know if the roundabout is still viable after the bridge tolls go in and the construction continues, with all the 18-wheelers going up and down Woodland Highway. That's all. That's all. I'm just expressing what other people have said to me, I guess because I'm next to.
Yeah. I mean, I have an opinion and knowledge of red lights in the past. Avenue A being one on Bell Chase Highway for years, they always wanted to put a red light there, and we were told no because traffic doesn't afford. There's not enough traffic there. There's coming off Avenue A. So obviously there was a traffic study done at this location right here, and it's my understanding that these roundabouts are a lot safer than red lights, and they control traffic a whole lot better. Because think about the red light at the Bell Chase Highway. What they're having to do, they're having to manually manipulate those lights right there so that they can control the traffic and make the traffic flow better. So I would have to say that the state has done due diligence, and you, as you travel the state of Louisiana, especially St. Tammany Parish, you will see a lot of roundabouts out and about, and they're eliminating red lights because I believe it does control the flow of traffic a lot better.
Even in the industrial environment we're in.
Are we talking about the roundabout or drainage?
Roundabout.
Roundabouts.
Negative, we're talking about drainage, so I think we're all getting tracked.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm on the wrong one.
No, I would like to.
It's called the roundabout drainage project, but this is a drainage issue for Keating, right?
Mr. Chairman, if I may have the floor, I'd like to address this. I've spoken to the engineering department here. This is primarily to alleviate some of the drainage problems that we're having presently on Keating and Jarrell Street. Whenever there's significant rain, they flood. This affords us the opportunity to alleviate some of the drainage problems we're having there. This drainage problem is being addressed with the roundabout, the current plan in place, in mind, so that when the roundabout is built, it does not have to be, it's not money wasted. So this is to alleviate a drainage problem we have now. If the roundabout is built, this will complement it. And if something else is done, then that's for a later date. But right now, there is a drainage problem in our industrial corridor that needs to be addressed. So the reason it was written in this way was to let the people know that the engineering department looked at this and made sure they planned it in such a way that it wouldn't be money wasted and it would complement the design. That is in place now. And to add to what President Hinckley said, they have done a traffic study. The roundabout seems to be the best course of action for us to go with. The drainage facilitates that, and I would ask my colleagues to move forward on this. I yield.
And Mr. Konovich?
Yeah, one, that's a state highway, and 25 feet off the highway, they take care of the drainage. And I ain't got a problem if Keating Drive's flooding and fix their drainage, but along that highway, it's DOTD's problem. Why are we paying for their drainage issue? Because I got culverts caving in Venice that they won't come fix, and it's theirs.
Brian.
Who's calling?
In front of you. If I'm correct, this is to redirect drainage. The state DOT would replace the existing drainage, but the existing drainage comes from that side of the highway, crosses under, and it turns right there where Mr. Fortmeyer has his dirt yard. This is going to redirect it a little closer towards 150 feet or so towards Belchase, let's say, and it's going to be a new drainage ditch going towards the canal that's back towards the Paws building, let's say. It's totally redirecting drainage that's going to benefit that whole neighborhood.
But we got to redirect it because of their roundabout.
No, they'll put it back exactly the way it is, but it's an improvement to the whole process. We're benefiting because of the roundabout. They're going to fund the rest of it. This is just a whole new ditch is basically what it is.
There's issues about the roundabout because
Could be.
I went to London in May and I go to Croatia every year. And I told Bo at the time, I sat in a roundabout for half an hour in traffic. If it's heavy, you can't get in.
Is there a way to separate the two by any chance? The roundabout and the drainage?
My mama drove one year.
Is there a way to separate the roundabout with the drainage?
Hold on, please. Okay, come on, Ms. McCarty.
Told him that.
The question was just, is there a way to separate a vote for a roundabout from the drainage? Because I'm all for drainage, and I just wanted to postpone.
Right now, we're talking about drainage. As Mr. Witchers said, we're redirecting drainage so that we can alleviate a problem that currently exists in our industrial corridor. Whether or not we get a roundabout, I don't know. Right now, we have a drainage problem. That area floods. We need to address it. That's all I'm asking to do. I yield.
Any more comments from the table? Administration, machines open. And the measure passes unanimously. All this debate.
Well, no, I just needed the clarification.
Next item, please.
Non-H will be deferred. Non-I, an ordinance to amend the 2023 Public Health Fund operating expenditure budget, ambulances, general department, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember Kotnovich, and this has changes.
Can you read the changes?
On line 4 and 415 and in the chart, the amount of 800,000 has been removed. It has now decreased to 500,000, and those are the changes.
Would that all offer?
Offered, Mr. Konovich offered with changes. Seconded by Mr. George. Any comments from the audience? From the table? Administration? Machines are open. And the measure passes unanimously, 8-0.
J, a resolution ordering and calling a special election to be held in the parish of Plaquemine, state of Louisiana, to authorize the continuation, levy, and collection of special taxes therein, make an application to the State Bond Commission, and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
So offered.
Second.
Seconded by Mr. Konovich. Any comments from the audience? From the table? I only have one question. We can do that here. We don't have to do it over there at the county seat.
No, sir. You got to do it if you're actually levying the tax in Point LaHash. This isn't levying anything. It's just calling for an election.
Okay, good. All right. Any more comment from the table? Administration? Mr. Schultz.
Just extends to what we have right now.
Okay. So just to be clear that this is renewing our current millages, correct? You want to give an explanation on what this exactly, that way the public knows that it doesn't see everything we do?
Bill Bowles, 1818 Avenue.
Please get closer to the mic, sir.
Bill Bowles, 1818 Avenue, America, Monroe, Louisiana. Council, this is just the continuation renewal of the taxes that exist, with the exception, as you mentioned the last time, the hospital taxes and other deals taken out of this. These are the current millages is being collected now, no increase in taxes, and just a continuation of all these same 7 taxes that were passed previously.
All right, thank you. I just want the public to hear that. That way they know what's going on when they see election for taxes.
Yes, sir.
Any more comments from the table? Administration? Machines are open. And the measure passes unanimously, 8-0. Next item, please.
Okay, a resolution urging Governor Edwards to declare an emergency declaration of disaster for the shrimping industry and otherwise to provide with respect thereto. Councilmember LaFrance.
I think he did that already, huh? I think the governor did that.
Yeah, that was at the special meeting that we had just for the shrimp.
Yeah. I think he did.
Correct?
Well, let's do it anyway. I so offer.
Unanimous second.
Unanimous second. Any discussion from the audience? Any comments from the audience? From the table? Administration? Machines open. And the measure passes unanimously.
Allen ordinance.
We'll defer that item.
10, approval of the minutes from the August 24th, 2023 regular meeting.
We have a motion by Dr. Gouy, seconded by Mr. Durgich. Machines open. And the measure passes unanimously, 8-0.
11B, District 7 update, Councilmember LaFrance. 1, Diamond and Ironson Park.
We good. We good. We move to the next item, please.
C, District,
He's
deferred.
not here. D.
9 is up, District 9 update is withdrawn.
Oh, no, you're good. E, District 6 update, water meters.
Yes. So I've gotten calls from some residents in my district, not my district, about their water bill, and some of them are getting, pretty high water bills where it goes from $30 or whatever it was to now they're paying $300. I didn't see them, but I don't know. But my question, I guess, is I know how many about, and I'm not looking for an acronym, I know we got a bunch of water meters that are, what do you call them, electronic now? I don't know what's the technical term for them. What is the plan, or do we have it about, do we calibrate these things? Because it's an electronic piece of equipment, it can fail. So I don't know if the heat affects it, with all the breaking of the water lines. Yeah, I'm just looking for an update for some residents, what we do. How do we handle that, the electronic ones?
Well, with the complaints, we handle them one by one. I do know that back in 19, that we had a contract with the company to replace the manual meters with the electronic meters. Most were done. There is some down on the south end in the Buras area. I think that's where they stopped. They're slowly replacing those meters with the electronic meters. These are highly efficient meters. I'm not going to say they never fail, but they're pretty good quality meters. They can measure up to a thimble of water quite accurately. With that said, I'm not going to tell you they never fail. With the current situation with the drought and the water lines breaking, there may be incidences where these meters are sinking and we're having problems with them. But other than that, these are high quality electronic meters.
In the contract, is there anything written for calibration or coming back and checking,
I'll get that information for you.
Or is it a Ron Popeil, set it and forget it, type of thing? And I'm saying we should have, because like you said, things could fail, and we ought to have I don't know, I ain't saying we need to check every meter every day, but we ought to have a process or something in place that we calibrate them and go look at them. And probably don't have to do every one, but some type of process, and maybe, hopefully this company can help us out with that.
I'll get that information from you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Do they work good in salt water?
We're going to see.
Mr. Chairman?
Yes.
I did want to reiterate on what Ronnie said. I know Jeff understands this, that we did have an issue. We had, some questions about those meters. We had that one on River Oaks Trailer Park. It seems like it must be working normal now, but I don't know if they had a glitch in it before. And if it, I haven't heard anything else about that, but if something does change rapidly, we may have to have some of these things looked at. I mean, nothing's foolproof, not even me.
I don't believe that, Mitch. Now, if there's consistent high usage, that'll tell us one thing. But if it's fluctuations in water usage, then that kind of leads us to believe there's issues outside from the meter. If there's, we all know the toilet running or leaky faucet or what have you, that could contribute to high water usage. But if it's a consistently high usage, then we certainly look at the meters. But if it's fluctuations, then there's most of the time there's other issues.
Donovich?
Yeah, I know a couple of years ago when they first put them in up here, somebody that lived close to the railroad track complained to me, said his water bill's expensive every month. So I asked the director at the time, can vibrations add gallons to the meter? And he said, oh, no. I said, can we check with the people who's selling us these meters? And they said it can. Vibrations can make gallons go onto the meters. So if it's got a lot of vibration around it, it could add gallons.
Yep.
With that, Mr. Chairman, I withdraw that.
Okay.
With that discussion, I withdraw that. Yeah.
When they installed mines, I made them put it on slow. Motion to adjourn? Motion. We have a motion by Mr. Schultz, seconded by Mr. Georges for adjournment. Any comments? She's open. And the measure passes unanimously 8-0. We'll have adjournment at 5:28.